So welcome, nerds of the nerd group here. This is very nerdy session, very technical session. My name's Chad Hester, and I am, oh, hang on. I gotta mute myself. Function F1. Hopefully that feedback, okay. I'm the Vice President of Digital Accessibility over at Alliant. And you are here for accessible communications using infographics, charts, and graphs. There we go. Now it moves. Okay. So my background is in full stack development. For the last 20 years, I've kind of worked my way up from writing code to leading strategy. And along the way, I've learned that accessibility is not just about standards, but it's also about real life practical experiences and how we communicate. Today's session, we're going to talk about the tools that are out there that are everywhere. And they're already in reports, they're already in dashboards, they're in presentations, and often we leave users behind because I feel like I've got some kind of thing here, because we're not doing them in an accessible way. But here's the deal. This is not a lecture. We're going to be very interactive in the room. We're going to do the best we can virtually. We're going to be asking you questions. We're going to be asking you to apply some of the things that we're going to talk about so that we hope you won't fall asleep, you know, that coma that we have after lunchtime, right? I've got my caffeine and I've got candy. If you want it, I'll toss it or I'll bring it to you. We're going to have a good time. So I'm here with Eduardo Meza Etienne. He's going to be co-presenting with me today. And I'm going to pass it over to him and we'll let him get us started.
Awesome. Thank you, Chad. Great to be here. First time at Access U. As Chad mentioned, I've been in the accessibility field as an accessibility consultant for the last 20 years. I first got started working in the reasonable accommodation space. And, it's been a good segue, I should put it that way. I also volunteer for Disability in DC Metro, which is the largest affiliate for Disability in. And I play the role of Chief Accessibility Officer for that organization. Again, happy to be here today. And let's go ahead and look at the agenda. Next slide, please. So as Chad mentioned, we want to make this an interactive session. So please feel free to interrupt us with any questions you may have along the way. And for today's agenda, we're going to be looking at some of the personas that are impacted by infographics, charts, and graphs. Then we're going to be looking at the core principles within the Web Content Accessibility Guidelines, which you may all be familiar with. Next, we're going to be looking at reviewing rather some real world examples where we will talk about tools and techniques. And then we will do some practical activities. We'll do a knowledge check. There are some prizes, by the way. So please, we encourage participation. And then we'll just wrap it up with some Q&As as well. All right, let's move on. So we were talking about personas. Some of you may be familiar with the fact that W3C, the World of Consortium, has created 9 personas. Okay, and the reason why is because accessibility is about people with disabilities. You know, we all have checklists, standards, and laws, which are important, right? But knowing the fact that we have principles, personas around that, we can actually bring that to the forefront and realize, okay, whatever I'm doing around graphs, infographics, and charts is impacting real people. Okay, so we actually extracted 3 personas that are really impacted by these type of elements or components, and we're going to talk about those 3. The first one
It's not me.
Alicia? Oh, it's not moving. Chad, I thought you had your little.
Oh, go ahead. Keep going. Keep
There we
going.
go.
See
Fantastic.
echo.
Okay, let's talk about Lexi, which is our first persona here, who is an older adult that loves online shopping and fantasy football. She cannot see all colors equally well. Websites and apps that rely on colors alone present barriers for Lexi. Using color alone to highlight text and to indicate areas in a chart also present barriers for Lexi. But fortunately, her work colleagues have learned ways for using other visual markers in addition to color. So one of the barriers for Lexi is that when she selects a color choice, there is nothing to help her differentiate between the colors. So one of the ways to overcome that barrier is to ensure that color choices are shown within their name using a descriptive label. We have a short video about Lexi. If you could please play it in the chat. Thank you.
We're gonna try it. I think I've shared the audio sounds with Zoom.
How people with disabilities use digital technology. Lexi, online shopper who cannot distinguish between colours.
Hello, I'm Lexi. I was born with deuteranopia and protanopia, which people often call colour blindness. I have difficulty distinguishing between red, green, orange and brown, all of which appear to me as kind of murky brown. In a store, I often can't tell the colour of two shoes or two shirts beside each other. I love online shopping because it's often easier for me when they use the names of the colours in addition to showing the colours. Unfortunately, not all online shops have an accessible checkout experience for me. Often, the sign-up or checkout form says, "Fields in red are required." Most times, I can't tell which fields are required when they use colour only. Good shops either have the word required or that little star beside the fields, or even better, put the word optional beside the ones I can skip. Not relying on colour alone is important for other websites and apps too. For example, my favourite fantasy football app has a symbol for each team on the jersey of the players, in addition to colour. This helps me spot the players on my team more quickly, not just by reading the names under each player. Colour issues also happen at work. For example, when my colleagues highlight words in a document without using the commenting function. The commenting function outlines the marked text in addition to highlighting it. Another example is when charts don't have symbols as well as the colours for lines and bars. I can't identify them from colour alone. My team is usually careful about this, but sometimes the suppliers we work with aren't. You can help make technology accessible to me.
Accessibility. It's about people. For more information from the Web Accessibility Initiative on how people...
Thank you, Chad. Okay, let's take a look at our second persona. She's Lakshmi, who is a senior accountant that happens to be blind. She relies on a screen reader to announce the content in the software she uses at work. And also she uses a standard keyboard to enter commands to navigate and enter information. Recently, Lakshmi's company migrated from desktop software to online applications, some of which present barriers for Lakshmi, such as when images don't include alternative text or when shortcut keys conflict with the screen reader commands. So one of the barriers that she faces is when she cannot easily scan a page to find things that might be of interest to her. One of the ways to avoid that barrier is to ensure that when sites are laid out, using properly marked up headings and paragraphs, she can use hotkeys in her screen reader to quickly jump from one heading or paragraph to another, stopping at anything that sounds interesting to her. And on the slide, we have other barriers that you can read, for instance, keyboard navigation, making sure that any interactive element on the application has a keyboard focus and keyboard support, consistent layout, obviously, of the application, any clear error messages on forms, and so on. You have the link of the persona if you want to read more on that on the slide. And then if we move on to the next slide, please, we'll take a look at our third and last persona that we have chosen, which is Stefan, a student with dyslexia and ADHD who struggles to focus on dense text and complex instructions. He benefits from digital content with text-to-speech support, plain language, consistent layouts, and minimal distractions. Mobile apps and streamlined websites work best for him. And one of the barriers that he faces when he comes across complex languages and sentence structures that are confusing and hard to read and retain. In order to avoid this, we recommend the use of short sentences and plain language as much as possible. Let's go ahead and watch a short video about Stefan, please.
Let's try it again. Let's see if we can do it without that. Nope.
How people with disabilities use digital technology. Stefan, student with attention deficit hyperactivity disorder and dyslexia.
Hello, I'm Stefan. I have dyslexia and attention deficit hyperactivity disorder, ADHD. I have difficulty recognising or sounding out written words, even though I use those same words in conversation all the time. It affects my spelling and my reading comprehension. It often takes me a long time to figure out the individual words I'm reading, and then it's hard for me to remember how the words in a sentence fit together in a meaningful way. Digital books and documents are often much better for me, on the computer, on a tablet, or my favourite, on my new e-reader. I can change the font type, text size and line spacing, which makes it easier for me to read. I also use the read aloud function because I read better when I can see and hear the text at the same time. It also highlights the words being read aloud and has a reading ruler so that I can follow along more easily. Sometimes though, digital books and documents don't work well. Sometimes they're just scanned images. These also can't be read aloud and I can't change the text size and font. Some don't have bookmarks which I use to jump to the parts I want to focus on, or there are long chunks or text without any headings. So I have difficulty focusing on the content. It's so much easier when text has more spacing and graphics to make them easier to follow. Another problem is when I have to do online research. I type in words but sometimes I do it wrong or use a different word that sounds the same, like break when I mean break. Sometimes I land on websites with all these ads and things popping up and moving around the screen. With ADHD, I get distracted by these ads and videos, and sometimes I click on them and I forget what I was meant to be doing. I use several pop-up blockers, but they don't always work. When I find an article I want to read, I try to remember to switch to reading mode in my browser. This usually removes all the stuff around the page and lets me focus on the text. But some websites don't work well, and the ads still appear or the text is too difficult for me to read. I love it when websites work well with my settings and extensions, like the extension for spelling and grammar, which helps me when I'm typing things like emails. That's very important for me. You can help make technology accessible to me.
Accessibility. It's about people. For more information from the Web Accessibility Initiative on how people with disabilities use digital technology, visit w3.
Excellent. So, Chad, I'm going to pass it over to you so you can share with us some of the latest statistics.
Okay, so almost every session has statistics with it, right? Because we have to justify why this actually matters. The statistics we've got maybe a little older by a year or two, but it still matters here. As of 2022, 1.3 billion people experience a significant disability. That represents 16% of the world's population, 1 in 6. That's by the WHO. So, make sure when you see statistics, where are they getting the statistics? And sometimes, I'm sure there's something updated since then. There's a couple of other ones here: cognitive disabilities, mobility disabilities, independent living disabilities, hearing disabilities, vision disabilities, all of which have been updated by the CDC recently. And so I'm ADHD. So getting started and having these extra noises was really freaking me out because that just bugs me, right? And so I'm one of the 13.9%, in the U.S. that has ADHD. And when I'm on my meds, we're great. When we're not, I don't know. We'll see. I was jumping around earlier. That was me just trying to get control of myself. So, that's kind of how it works sometimes. So now we're going to go back over to Eduardo. We're just about through the kind of informational piece, and we're just about to dive into the more interactive piece. But you have to set the foundation, right? What are we talking about? Why are we talking about it? And so let's go back and let's kind of apply this, Eduardo, to the core principles.
Absolutely. Thank you. Thank you, Chad. So yes, let's go back to our core principles. And these are really the technical requirements from an accessibility point of view. And they're laid out by the Web Content Accessibility Guidelines, the WCAG guidelines. As I mentioned earlier, we have 4 core principles, also known as the POUR principles: perceivable, operable, understandable, and robust. Within those principles, we have 13 guidelines. And then within those guidelines, we have a total of 55 success criteria within the WCAG 2.2 level A and level AA. So let's go ahead and explain each one of those core principles in detail and what they represent for people with disabilities. Next slide, please.
Gotcha.
So the first core principle is perceivable. So that means that users must be able to perceive the information being presented. It cannot be invisible to all of their senses, okay? So a good practical example of this principle includes ensuring that color contrast is being implemented. Color is not the only way of conveying meaning. Providing text alternatives and using patterns and shapes or labels in charts are good practical examples of how you can ensure that you're meeting this perceivable principle because it's being perceived by one of the senses. Okay. Moving on to the next one, operable. Our second core principle. Operable means that users must be able to operate the interface. The interface cannot require interaction that a user cannot perform. Practical examples of this principle include the ability to navigate interactive charts using the keyboard, and we'll take a look at some of those practical examples later on. Use of appropriate ARIA roles and attributes without abusing that. Who knows the first rule of ARIA in the room? Yes? Sorry. Thank you very much. Announcing chart updates using ARIA Live regions. Okay, good. Thank you. Thank you, Chad. The first prize. Okay, we have more. Thank you. Moving on to the next one, which is our third core principle, understandable. Understandable means that users must be able to understand the information as well as the operation of the user interface. The content or operation cannot be beyond their understanding. Some practical examples of this principle include the use of plain language and labels, legends and descriptions, adding titles, subtitles, and summaries to explain the content, avoid clutter, and break complex infographics into sections with headings or clear flow. Okay, so we're down to our last principle, which is robust, which means that users must be able to access the content as technologies advance. As technologies and user agents evolve, the content should remain accessible at all times. Obviously, I mean, technology changes every day, so we want to make sure that content is going to be able to be accessed by everyone. Some practical examples of this principle include using semantic markup, ensuring charts are screen reader compatible, avoiding images of text, of graphs without proper alternative text, and checking for mobile responsiveness and content reflow. Okay, so we have our four principles. Now, chat, let's take a look at some of these things that make a graphic accessible.
Okay, so we've set the stage. This is kind of a short version of the money slide, okay? What can you take away from this presentation and take back with you and implement it right away? We have a checklist that we've developed. And first of all, I want to say one thing. We're not here to sell anything to anybody. We don't represent a charting company. We are practitioners, right? So these are like things that help us if we're trying to make things more accessible, okay? But just so you know, I'm not gonna try to point anybody in one direction. A lot of good things out there. We've got one in the room that has some stuff that we're gonna ask questions to in just a little bit. Get ready for candy. So, all right. So the high level list is on the slide, but I'm going to read out some of the things, the subparts of these. So text alternatives, providing alt text for graphics, using long descriptions. And oh, by the way, one last thing. There's going to be a web address that you can go get all this, so you don't have to write it. You don't have to take it down. I'll show you that in just a minute. Again, it's not to sell you anything. Use long descriptions for visuals that are complex. Include summaries or captions explaining the key message of the graphic. Offer a data table or structured data as an alternative for charts. Number two, the clear visual design. Ensure sufficient color contrast, 4.5 to 1 for body text, 3.1 for large text, and 3.1 for non-text contrast. So the bar charts themselves should be 3 to 1. The pie charts colors should be 3 to 1. Let's see. Still in clear visual design, we're going to not use color alone. We said that a couple of times to convey meaning. Use shapes, patterns, or labels. Label all axes, data points, and legends directly on the chart if possible. Avoid text in images. Use real selectable text where feasible. Okay. Next area is logical structure and reading order. Arrange content in a left to right, top to bottom flow. Now that could be different if you're working with somebody in China, right? Because they read and do things differently, but for Western world, left to right, top to bottom. Use headings, groupings, and clear sections in infographics. Ensure consistent spacing and alignment to support scanning and screen magnifiers. Number 4 is keyboard and screen reader accessibility. And I'm getting somebody texting me in the middle of my thing. ADHD, rabbit hole. Okay, sorry. Please, for the love. Sorry, let me go back. I'm trying to get to where I can scroll. There we go. I'll use the touchdown. Keyboard and screen reader accessibility make interactive elements navigable, worst word in the world, navigable by keyboard. Use ARIA roles and properties to describe charts using role equals image and ARIA labels and etc. Use ARIA live regions if data updates dynamically. Add screen reader friendly descriptions and summaries of chart data. Fifth area is semantic markup. Use HTML or accessible SVGs. Don't embed charts as flat images. Ensure all interactive elements follow the WCAG guidelines, AA. Mobile and Zoom friendly design for responsive layouts. The best you can, because it's really difficult. Hopefully Doug has an answer for that. No pressure. avoids fixed layout, or sorry, fixed width text or non-scaling images that break when zoomed. Okay, so there's that low vision user that you want to take into account. Ensure visual information remains available when zoomed to 200%. And lastly, special considerations for PDF and print consideration is tag reading order properly in a PDF export, include alt text and captions for embedded images, and ensure text is real and selectable, not outlined or rasterized. Any designers in the room? What's rasterized mean? Pixels.
Oh.
2 for 2. Okay. We're going to go through some examples. All right, on screen is 2 versions of the same infographic. One is in color and one is in grayscale. So tip number 1, if you're going to develop anything, pretty much anything with color, but infographics especially, make sure that you test them in both modes. If you can't discern the differences in gray, neither can your users potentially. So can anybody tell me anything else that goes with that?
You've got the symbols.
Yes, right. Oh, yeah.
Sorry.
People remotely probably.
In addition to color, you use symbols, so you're not representing, you're not distinguishing the elements by color alone.
Right,
Good answer.
right. Great job.
I mean, it's what I do. I gotta know.
Okay. All right. Good job. Okay. So anything else that jumps out to the audience about the color version over here? Yes. Sorry. Some of the, yeah, sorry, we're so fast. Allison,
Yes, some of the colors appear to be low contrast.
yes. All right, good job. Yeah, so the yellow line, I mean, that contrast looks pretty low. It might be 3:1, but I'm sure it's really close. So the next slide, we just take another view of it and we just try to punch up the accessibility a little bit. Okay, so what are some of the things that I did?
Different types of.
Right, so
Use different types of lines, dotted ones, dashed.
yeah, yeah.
Let me try that.
Right, so we changed the line style from, just a straight line with the points. Sure, the points do something, but that a little bit of additional work to get the line styles to be different helps even more. So look at that grayscale version now as you review it. It's a little bit easier. Now, I don't think I did a great job of the 2 middle lines having differences, but yeah, sorry about that. What's another thing that I did?
Well, you change the colors.
Doug says, I changed the colors. So, right. So I updated the colors that were used in the graph itself. So the yellow line goes away, it becomes orange. The 2 in the middle are different a little bit too. All right. So those are a couple of strategies to put in place. And then ensuring the points and the style of the lines are different is another tip to keep in mind. All right, let's go to the next. Oops, whoop, gave away the game. Okay, so this is a very similar but different type of graph that we have here now. Again, if you look at this through grayscale, how challenging is it to really understand which line is which? Chrome, I mean, they all look the same to me, and I'm right on top of it. So, so we have those challenges there. All the backgrounds are basically the same. So what do we do to increase it? It's tough. It's tough. And so we have to think about, this is maybe not the best way to do it, but we introduce some kind of background. I'm not saying this is the right one, but some sort of background that gives you a difference. Okay. I'm not saying this is the perfect example, but it's maybe a little bit better. At least now I can tell the differences between the areas, right? Whether it's great, like this brown combination towards the bottom was not a good selection. I'm not sure I had a choice when I made it, but it at least gives you some difference. When you see it in black and white, it's a little easier to discern it, right? Than it is in color. So as the designer of these things, you have to take all of that into account. Okay. So use background patterns as another tip when you can in a good way. All right. Now we have some bar charts. So this is one that has 3 very similar colors when you think about the hue of the colors. If you review this in black and white, you can hardly tell the difference between the first and the second, right? And so that's problematic. So get my candy ready. You ready? Okay. What is a strategy that you've already heard of potentially that we could introduce here? There's a couple of strategies that we could do to increase the visible accessibility of it. Let's go here first. Give me one strategy.
Add a repeated pattern to each bar.
Sure. You're good. One more.
Add borders for the color.
Add
contrast.
borders, yeah. And the borders would have to probably have a different style to it potentially. Or the color contrast maybe. Yeah, yeah. The color contrast, it's going to be challenging to have a 3-to-1 color contrast between the bars from the first one to the last one. So I chose the road that was easier, and I introduced a background pattern. This is a little easier to understand, a little bit easier to get with. And the black gray scale version is a lot easier. And so that equalizes that sided piece of it. You got a comment? We have a comment from the team.
I would also like to point out that in this case, you are not distinguishing them by color alone. You are also distinguishing them by position. There is a set position for each group, the order. And so per WCAG, you are not, it is by necessity, the way a data visualization is structured. That is the only way of doing that. And so somebody who understands how to read a data visualization technically doesn't even need the colors at all because they know the positions. Now, the colors make it easier, but I just wanted to point out that from a legal perspective, you're actually covered there.
It necessarily tells the label which one's good.
So in this case, first off, I would use direct labeling.
Right.
But also the labels are in the order.
Okay. So, okay.
Yeah. It is not completely obvious. I'm just pointing out from a legal perspective that don't ignore the fact that data visualizations have. I'm interrupting this. I'm sorry.
I think that's great.
We have some comments in the chat as well.
Oh, we do.
So somebody said.
Then we'll come back around to here.
Add patterns, we mentioned that. Somebody said use a gradient of colors. Example given, light blue to dark blue, and then add borders to the lighter columns. Somebody else said add labels to the X and the Y axis.
Yeah.
And then she had a comment here too.
It's actually, it's
Oh, cool. It was actually a question. So I know we looked at like the earlier example, like example 2, where we also added patterns between the lines. So is there like a reason why we didn't show those new patterns between the line graphs to distinguish the 4 factors? If we look at the past one, like, because I think like when we added patterns here in the legends, it's helpful to distinguish, but we didn't show that in the
In the
other-
last one
Yeah,
here.
but I could. It was hard to see like the after
Right.
those were added.
Right. Yeah. Again, I was using an application to build this, so I was just using but yeah, I agree. It would help if you had that visual
Yeah, like the patterns or like
in the
this-
legend. Yeah.
Yeah, in the legend.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you get a price.
Yeah. Yeah. This one? Yeah. All right.
So I just want to call out, like you already mentioned, right? It is not failing any VCAG, so there is no legal obligation. So this is more of like on the usability perspective we are doing. Okay.
Yeah,
Or-
that's.
Yeah.
I just want to clarify that
Sorry.
doing things in service of usability is equally important to them for doing them for legal reasons, right? Like we're here to make things better, not simply to abide by the law. I was just pointing out that if you can't figure out a good way of doing it, there are those inherent characteristics of the database.
Follow up. Yeah. And I have a follow up to go with that too. You're fine.
The
Brett.
reason being asking on this specific thing is, so when we have teams coming up with the designs and they don't want to change any patterns and they ask, is it failing any VCAG? So no, ideally no. But yeah, it's a bad usability experience. But in terms of VCAG, if they are just going with VCAG specifically, we can't say that you can't use this because we already have numbers here, which is already defining what the user is supposed to do.
Right. So then that's when I'd turn around and ask the question, are we going to try to make this usable and accessible for the user base? Or are you just trying to check the box that we're conforming?
Right.
Right?
Yeah.
So that's how I would counteract that. The other thing I'd say is, as Doug pointed out, it is in the same order. Scannability wise though, is not as quick.
Speed of recognition.
That's right. And so cognitive for me is a lot easier if I've got patterns or something else that's a little bit more, right? So, because then I've got to like look at the colors, I got to look at the legend, you know what I mean? So that takes time. So it's all good. It's good stuff. Like that's why we're here, right? We want to learn this stuff. Okay. Knowledge check time. Now I'm running out of candy.
It's where the fun begins.
Okay,
Great.
Eduardo's gonna run this part of it. I'll help kind of.
Excellent.
help.
All right. So
You-
this
you
is
got it?
where we get to apply some of the theory into some practical examples. And as I mentioned, in addition to sugar prices, there's some more practical prices. All right. So hint, hint, just think of some of the ideas that we all came up with in the earlier examples. So question for the group here, any accessibility recommendations for this infographic that we have on the slide, customer reports? We have several types of graphics, pie charts, bar charts, line charts. Anything that comes up right off the bat that you would like to? Yes?
Don't use red on your graphic.
Good.
Hmm.
Anything else that comes up?
Yes.
It's the insufficient contrast definitely would be in my.
Sorry, we need the mic. Yes. Yeah.
Oh, sorry.
Obviously, insufficient color contrast with the pie chart.
That's good.
Yeah.
How about the
Who else?
pie
We got
chart?
one in the back.
Yes, in the back. Yes, thank you.
I would directly label pretty much everything. The circular, the pie chart with the hole in the middle. And then
Donut chart, yeah.
what is it? Donut chart?
Oh, sure.
Sorry.
Yeah, yeah. Exactly. Thank you.
I just tell people what to fix, not what it is. And then I would also, if it were me, I would directly label the percentages in the bar chart.
Yes.
Because I hate that whole, you get to guess now what these
Right.
numbers are.
Right.
Thank you.
Do you want?
So
Okay.
we talked about color contrast, adding labels. Anything else?
Got one here, Mark.
The headings are pretty small and they're,
Yeah.
even though they're set off in color, it's harder to differentiate them perhaps than the text in the, underneath it. It's just a.
For sure.
Definitely, yes.
Yeah.
And I think it goes back to that color contrast, that orange or whatever color that is. It's pretty bad.
All right.
What about the line chart? Well, labels you mentioned already. But
You also forgot some.
The pie or the donut again, needs some patterns to it because it's all distinguishable. It's low contrast, but then it's all kind of the same color. So I can't really tell the difference between the different for the legend. So I would want some patterns there.
Yeah.
excellent.
Doug's got another.
Great ideas. Anything
That's
else?
why I like having
Doug?
a guy in
Okay.
the room like this.
With the pie chart is donut chart. Idiot.
Donut chart.
I'm sorry. Pastry chart. With the pastry chart, you should have dividers, like white dividers, because that also gives you sufficient color contrast with the background as well. So you should isolate each of those slices with a white divider line.
Like an outline.
Yes.
Otherwise,
okay.
it needs.
Yeah, like an outline for
Yes,
each slice that's
correct.
preferably probably white.
With color contrast, yes.
Yeah.
obviously.
Right. Otherwise, you have to have a 3-to-1 color contrast between the two colors adjacent. Right. Yes.
For the customer satisfaction ratings, it's not really in readable, logical reading order. So January, February, March, April should, I think, be on the left. Then you have the stars, then you have the rating. Also, just side note, some of us have brand colors that are red and can't avoid it.
Don't act her.
It just seems to be a lot of information in one graphic
Yeah.
too, and a little cognitive
true.
overload perhaps.
Absolutely. Absolutely. We got one in the back.
I wanted to add a comment about the red. I know we were joking around about red, but there's actually a kind of rare condition where people don't like perceive red, like pure red at
Yeah.
all. So just please be conscious of that. So even within your organizations, like if people are saying, well, red makes sense when it's a bad number, just know that you have to vary that a little bit.
Yeah. We got another one back here in the back and one back here too.
The rounded edges on these horizontal stacked bar graphs on the bottom left impede the viewer's ability to judge the true length of the bars.
Yeah.
Yeah. One.
Get this comment and then go back to Doug. This is why we like interactive.
The line graph, it's hard to tell what exactly are the values on the line graph.
Right.
There should be numbers next to them.
That's cool.
Yeah.
That's great.
It's tough to really understand what that is. One more to Doug and we're going to move on. We have seven of these. So you
think
have
we'll go through all-
plenty of chances.
Building on what the gentleman back there said with the bar chart and preferred products, those look like switches.
Right.
That-
Are they switches or are they
Yeah,
graphs?
exactly. You have to.
Buttons.
Right. So yeah.
Am I controlling the volume or am I?
Right. Absolutely. Yeah. Okay, let's move on to the next one. Great interaction. We're still awake. We're still awake. This is good.
It's awesome.
Number 2.
All right. So any improvements from an accessibility perspective on this infographic market analysis report, different types of charts as well? Any recommendations?
Any opportunities? Oh, work that back line.
I would add borders to the pie charts, but I like black borders typically because like that light green probably isn't 3-to-1 in general, and it still has to pass against the white background.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
That's good.
This one is better than the last one, but that's a lot of green.
Sure.
And it's easy to get lost in all of that same color, monochromatic theme.
Right.
Same as last one, the pie chart is using color alone, so we would want some background pattern to that.
Yeah, that could help. Okay, yeah, we got some over here. Oh, yeah, sorry, I got right behind you.
For the competitive market share, all of the progress, I don't know what chart to call it, but we could have the same color for them because they're not represented together.
Sure, right. Yeah, you could make one out of all of that. Yeah, I got one in the back too. It-
Product demand trends, bar chart, what does that mean?
Yeah, right? I think they need to switch those, right? If it's company A, it should be at the bottom, 50,000 at the top, you know?
Yes.
That makes more sense,
Yes, that
right? In the back. Yeah.
I think my comment is similar. Looking at that, I don't know what A, B, C, and D mean.
Right.
Exactly.
I think, at least, I thought at first that that it went in order, like A, B, C, D.
Right.
I have no idea.
Yeah, it makes no sense. The good thing is these are just mock-ups that you can use and then fix. All right, let's move to the next one. Yeah, go ahead. Sure, one more.
I've heard some people give grief to gauges, the things in the middle there,
Okay.
competitive market share.
Yeah.
But those are fine because they've also got, they're representing the value in two different ways, graphically and numerically. So you're actually, people might give you grief about gauges. You might hear that, but it's actually a pretty effective technique.
Is it the same grief that pie charts?
Is it the same grief
It's a
that pie
related
chart?
grief.
Yeah, pie charts get,
Related.
yeah, it's related. All right, let's go to the next
Let's go to the
one.
next one. Yes. All right. I have a specific question on this one. Website analytics reports. Can somebody tell me something about the bounce rate by device pie chart? Those icons there inside the pie chart. Do you have any suggestions about those? Are they?
Two of them look very similar, like you can't.
Right.
Two of them look very similar. It's hard to tell I guess one is maybe a tablet and one's maybe a smaller device, but it's not very clear. And you might have text below that, but then you're just using the color to determine that. It would be better to have those symbols represented also down below.
Thank you. Yes. And also something to note is potentially color contrast, even though they're non-text elements, they should also meet that color contrast requirement 3:1. Right.
What do you think about this bar chart? Is there any recommendations you would, there's a vertical bar chart and then there's a horizontal bar chart. Let's start with the vertical bar chart. What are some opportunities, we'll say? Anyone? Contrast is one of them for sure.
Put the labels above the bar, not on the bar themselves, and not all across the bottom.
That's good.
I don't agree.
No?
Because
This is great. This is the kind of
yes.
interaction we want.
Somebody with a low vision who's using a magnifier, they would have to zoom in and then jump around to find this is all nice and aligned.
That's a use case. Yes.
Yeah. I could do better with the color contrast.
Oh, sure,
But yes.
I mean, I think it's okay either way, but I don't think it's bad to do it this way.
Yeah, I'm on the fence too. So it's like, it could, but it's different than the other patterns we saw before, right? So that's why we want to give you a chance to talk through it. Same thing with the pie chart that has numbers in it. It's nice to have the numbers in it, so that helps us understand the percentage. Comment?
Traffic sources and page views don't have numbers.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So actually, sorry, bounce rate also
Bounce
doesn't
rate.
have numbers.
Right. So you have to explain or reveal those numbers to all of us, not just low vision or cognitive or any of that. Yeah. Doug, you got one more before we go to 4? I think we're going to do one more. How are we doing on time?
Time check. Yeah. It's 4:07. 8 minutes.
Oh. real time.
Yeah, sorry, I'm.
Okay, last.
That's an adjusted color. Good call, thank you.
I just want to say that page views by page type, having the labels inside the bar is good. It saves space. It looks nice.
Yep.
No problem with that. It would be nice if if it also had the values.
Right, right. Okay, we're going to skip ahead a little bit. So, no, we're good. That's great. This is a great problem to have. So we're going to move on to the toolkits that we've identified, and then we might get a chance to look at the live examples. So, Adobe's been in the space as one of the, premier tools. I've been around it for about 25 years. I'm an Illustrator guy first, Photoshop second. But they really try hard to be accessible. I know they've been doing that for years now. One of somebody's client that I might have been around. And so, they're trying to make things accessible, and, but the challenge with Adobe products is the steep learning curve of their applications. They're so dense in all of the functionality that they provide. So you have to kind of weigh that if you don't have a tool yet that you're using. Yeah. And they're expensive, yes. Bless you.
Okay, so as an Adobe user, and I especially will do InDesign, and I have to make the graph in Illustrator, and then I have to place it into InDesign. But earlier you said don't use any flat images. So how does that?
PDFs, and that's where you'd probably get the end result, right? So then you have to use the alternate text and long descriptions and maybe even a data table to support.
So for web, would you then say if I was putting it on the website, I would have to build it for something that's.
I would, yeah, I would. That maybe it's a combination of things that you have to do. That would be a fun project to play with. But yeah, that's how I would do it. Canva is another tool that we know is out there. It's a little newer, but it's got a pretty mature product now. And Vengage, all of the examples that we used, were from Vengage. Pretty easy to go in there and just look at what they have to start with. Then you can edit it. It's all online. So in trying to, get prepared for this, I'm like, I need a lot of examples to have a great conversation fast. I don't really care what it is. Let's just generate conversations, right? And so that's what you saw. So those are a couple of providers you can think about. And then we've got a couple of libraries. We need to add a library. As soon as I went looking for it this morning, I couldn't find it. So it's not out there yet. Okay. So I did okay. So, because this is the thing. We want everybody to have an accessible chart framework to work with. And if Doug's team has built it, why wouldn't I push you into, hey, go talk to Doug? But yeah, these other ones are the ones that I'm familiar with, right? So I've been using high charts for a long time. I've done some chart.js stuff. D3.js I've used a couple of times. In the slide deck, you're going to have links to accessible examples. And so you can go out and look at those first four. The last three we haven't done a lot of work with, but we know they are charting frameworks that you can look at and evaluate. I'd say whatever you can do to make it accessible, the easiest is where I would think about your time and how much it's worth. That's what I'd be thinking about. But Doug, I would love to give you a moment to just talk about what you have coming.
Briefly, name of our product is Paracharts. We're in design partner mode right now, so we're just making sure that it fits the market. So we're not selling anything today. 6 months. It's called Paracharts, and we not only generate fully accessible charts. You give us data, we give you a chart, but we also use AI in the browser. No LLMs, not very privacy centric. We use AI to look at the data, detect trends, and describe them in text. So we automatically caption not just caption, but also have at every level, like let's say you have a line chart. It not only gives you a summary of the entire line chart, but then each individual line will tell you the trend for that line when you navigate to that line. If you go to an intersection, it annotates that intersection and lets the blind person, the screen reader user, know, oh, there's an intersection here. So it's built with accessibility in mind from the ground up.
Love it. Yeah. Question?
Just put in a web page.
So,
Any of these charts.
yeah. So, we got like just a moment. There's a URL that,
That's what I thought.
oh, it's 325? Oh,
My bad. Sorry.
his fault. It's his fault. I'm pointing at Eduardo.
I feel like time here is.
I'm like, run, let's go.
You can go back to those other examples. We can pick this.
Like, let's do the live ones and then we can go back if we have time.
So I have another question for you. I know how I do it. I just back to the embedding in documents. How are y'all putting graphs in documents? Like in PDFs, when you go to put a graph in a PDF, what are you doing?
Yeah, so I don't do any of the
Okay.
content creation. I maybe review it
Right.
as a
okay.
company. We review it and give you
What are
guidance.
you doing to, when you tag that PDF, how are you tagging if there's a big chart in there?
So
Just
it-
doing one image?
It would be an image, yeah.
So it is
Yeah,
flattened. That was kind of what.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
But there's probably ways that you could do it.
I would.
Yeah.
I would look at, he has a lot of talks online. Dax Castro
Yeah.
talks very specifically about how to make them not just flat graphics. You can add structure underneath, even if it is a flat graphic. You can still add structure in a PDF to provide that information. You don't want to have just a long description. You need to have discrete, like maybe
Break
each
points.
yeah, like different points that a person can navigate around. Look at Dax Castro, DAX, and then last name CASTRO.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Good point. So on this slide, I've shared a URL. This is where we're going to go in just a moment. It's got the checklist on the homepage, and then it's got links to the examples that were the design examples, and then it's got links to a couple of live examples that we're about to go into. Okay, so inclusivegraphics.com. It's a dumb name. I was trying to figure out something that I could just put out there in hosting just so that I would have it, right? And it
That's incluso, not.
Incluso, yeah, Incluso graphics. Yeah.
Expected so. Expected.
Okay. So let me see if we can do this. This is where Murphy's Law could occur. I'll have to reshare my screen for everyone at home. Stand by. I'm not sharing anything. Okay, good. Incluso, like Dr. or was it Inspector Cluso graphics? Okay. Let me go back to Zoom and I will share my screen. You're going to find out really quick. I did not spend time designing this website. This is a utilitarian website. Ta-da! Okay. So, because that is not the purpose of this site. Okay, but here's the text version of that checklist, right? If you want that checklist for yourself, go in here and do that. We may put that in a different version for you, a PDF version that's accessible or something, but didn't get that done for today. Let's go look at, so that's all on the home page. Here's the design examples, so you can, see the versions. You can use your favorites that do all the color stuff here if you want to for grayscale. And let's go over to the live examples. I got really fancy with this page, right? As you can tell, that's not the point of what we're doing here. Now, I'll probably make it look like the design examples at some point, but that's not what I'm worried about. So we're going to navigate our way over to this first example. And this is an example that is not mine. Sarah Fossheim developed this, and she wrote some tutorials. And I thought it was pretty cool to go see her process. And so this is her before. So now that you know what you know, let's have this same conversation. What are some recommendations of what would be accessible?
So I'm not going to state the obvious that we've talked about before. I'm actually going to say I don't like how big the spaces are in between the bars.
Yeah.
I would make the bars wider because especially when you're talking magnified 400% or whatever, you
Yeah.
have all that white space. And then I'll leave it for everybody else.
Okay.
And then you have more room for the labels.
Yes.
And more, yeah, more rooms to the labels. Yep. Anyone else? And it's really hard to tell what we're talking, what is this about so
The
far?
rounded edges.
What?
The rounded edges of the bars.
The like the top of it being round? Yeah, it's not really a problem, but we don't know what the value of it is. What does that mean? Right?
There's no axis, there's
No axes, none of that, right? But yeah, so roundness doesn't matter as much as what does the top of the roundness mean, right? Okay, Doug?
Monday and Wednesday clearly have some different characteristic
Right.
from the other days, but we don't know what it is because there's no
No legend.
or anything
Right.
like that.
Right. Okay, so if you go to her example that's on the site, you'll see her process of writing the code and changing the code. And then I went and just made some slight adjustments. And here's what we came up with. Let's see. So white space has not changed as much, but because we made the bars a little wider, you don't necessarily have to have the background, but if I were to check the grayscale, how close are the reds and blues, so that maybe it would matter, right? So just do it. Now you've got axes, you've got, a legend, you've got some, more characteristics about what this chart's about at the top. And look at that, it's interactive. Okay, so I'll show you.
Oh, can we look at the code?
Maybe. We could, yeah, but I don't know how it would come across on Zoom. But what I was going to say is, what happens when I do Control-Shift-N? Nope, that's not the right. Control-Alt-N.
Loading NVDA. Please wait.
The purpose of the keyboard focus is to give a better experience to a screen reader user. Chat.
Loading NVDA.
The keyboard
Please wait.
focus is the purpose is to give a better user experience for screen reader users.
For sighted users, so they know where they're at.
And then maybe there's an outline, right, when you can focus. Yes.
Right. Level.
Trying to get NVDA on here for start.
So why is it
Loading
interactive?
NVDA.
If it's
Please
not
wait.
actually doing anything, when you don't actually interact with it except to navigate through it, why would you do that for screen reader users and not just let them use the virtual cursor?
That's a great question. I mean, I've always just said if it's something that you want to get access to that data, you should make it be part of their ability to get there, I guess. I don't know. Doug, do you have an opinion on that?
I always make my stuff special consideration for making it keyboard navigable. I just always like it. First off, it's not just for screen reader users. it's for a lot of people,
Right.
people with motor disabilities, people. There's a lot of different reasons you would want to use keyboard. And even just some people are just super keyboard heavy. They don't want they may want to go in. I don't want to belabor the point, but a lot of people just don't like to use a mouse.
Yeah.
And they may not be blind, but they want to be able to interact with an element. They're not for nothing. Those elements could actually be interactive. You might be able to click on it
And bring something else up.
So why not belt and suspenders? I guess is what I'm saying, right?
Yeah. We have a question in the back. Yeah.
User doesn't like to see red numbers. I think it's kind of two thoughts. Does that work? Check in 1, 2. Kind of. For screen reader users, what we try to do is just try to basically offer a table view version. You can click to get everything in a properly formatted data table. That the user has a chance
From
to
Elizabeth
just review
Thomas
it
to
in a
everyone,
compatible
belt
format.
and suspenders
And you
thinking
could,
face
for
alert.
a screen reader user, you could technically hide the graph or chart view unless it has focusable elements, in which case it will be a failure of WCAG. The other thought is, and I don't know how big this example is, but we're experimenting with audio chart playback for charts that have too many data points to be meaningful in the table. I'm curious if there's any
From Thomas
examples
Lunsford
you're
to
creating with any
everyone,
kind of audio
2
feedback.
different ways to do the same thing
No,
alert.
I mean, I was going to try to get NVDA to work here, and I was going to navigate it because there's a good point that I was going to make on the second graph, or actually the second version of this graph, and where, well, I'll get to it in a minute. But yeah, I agree that if you have a chart that has hundreds of data points in it, it might be a little challenging to get all of those, to have a user navigate all of those points. So you have to think about that probably in a good way. Simple versions are fine, but when you get to those big ones, go ahead.
So I want to play devil's advocate for
Yeah.
the keyboard navigation through a chart if there's nothing there. Because we regularly tell developers not to make put something in a tab order that is not interactive.
I'm sure.
And if this is not interactive, then the bars should not be in the tab order. Now, if you can select it and more data comes up and that data is also announced to screen reader users, that would make sense.
Yeah.
But just to have it in the tab order doesn't make sense to me.
Yeah. Yeah.
The keyboard.
The debate begins.
No, it's not a debate.
Yeah.
Absolutely agree with you. Should not use tab order because you're just adding stops to a person that the keyboard navigation can be done with script. I wouldn't use tab order.
From
to do
David
that.
Robinson to
You can use
everyone,
it with
agree,
with script.
plain images
right?
shouldn't be tab stops. Alert.
So then are you saying you would have each one of these? I guess they're not even images.
Heather Abbott has left the meeting alert. Lorna Tanner has left the meeting alert.
Arrow keys and it's going to say the same.
Yeah. Right.
Oh, I don't know if I can repeat that. Basically, she's saying if having each one of these effectively be an image that is navigated to, and it gives the value of it. But I think you're pointing out, I think what's more important is you're pointing out a really fundamental thing is you could have hundreds.
Manessa Callum has joined the meeting alert.
Scatter plot, right? You don't want to make somebody navigate. You should absolutely not force somebody to tab through a graphic.
Yeah.
The graphic should either have internal navigation, usually handled actually through role equals application, or it should just let them skip past it after reading the summary. They should not have to tab through.
Yeah, think in terms of like bypass blocks. So you get to the first one or a drop down. You get to the first one, you can use the arrow key to go down, or you can use the arrow key to go over to like navigate through, and then the next tab goes past it.
How we're doing it is that somebody tabs onto our
Manessa Callum has
application.
left the meeting alert.
Everything is handled. Everything is handled through keyboard navigation, like arrow keys, when they hit tab, they leave
Yeah.
they pass over it. It's just tab onto it, listen to the description, tab off, you're gone.
Yeah.
That's how we do it. I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah, I was. Yeah. Again, I'm not trying to, this is not a commercial version of something. It's just like an example that she went through. And I thought it was a very good example to think about and like debate through some of the decisions. Let me go to the last
Show full
example.
live examples. Document busy. Live examples, Infographics busy. Monthly digital revenue forecast review. Natalia
Should not
Satarajni
use that
started the
example to show
meeting.
anyone, right? Because
HTTPS
like we already discussed
live
here,
examples,
should not be keyboard accessible.
Infographics,
The best part,
Google Chrome,
like
Chat,
he said, it should have
Chatembox.com,
option to
live
be shown
examples,
as a table.
Infographics.
Sure, you should have a table after that. That
Navigation
example
from
didn't.
Elizabeth
This
Thomas
one
to
here,
everyone.
you see this?
OMG,
Yeah,
so much audio.
I didn't have time to
Alert.
put the table
Clickable
with it, but
navigation
I
landmark
should have had a
visited link
table
home.
also, right? So you want to support both
Johnson
sides
has
of
left
that.
the meeting alert. From
I don't know if
MMC
it's
Lardy
always the
to
case.
everyone, could you turn off the screen reader, please? Alert.
I want to caution people against putting in a table after a chart because now you should either you should be explicit that this table is the same data as the chart, because otherwise you're like, oh, this is very similar data to the stuff. If you have a version of a chart that is itself accessible, you don't need a data table because you can navigate through it in the same way that you can a data table. We also provide and say, oh, if you want to see this as a table, show it as a table instead. But don't duplicate the thing and not say that it's a duplicate, because otherwise that's cognitive load.
Right. Right. So this is, anybody remember True Beverly Hills? Any ladies? One of my wife's favorite films. Yeah, 90s something. So this is cookie sales by month. What are some very immediate problems with the first version of this chart?
I don't know what it means.
Yep. You got tables, so it's hard to understand what the
PP
values
Polanyi has
are.
left the meeting alert.
Let's look at version
Show
2.
hidden icons.
A little bit better
Document
version.
busy. Live examples,
Okay.
Infographics,
So implementing a lot
clickable
of the things
navigation
that we've been
landmark
talking
visited
about the
link
whole
home.
time.
List with 4
Oh,
items.
there's
Link what are
also a little
monthly
disclosure. Do you need to look
cookie
at the
sales by
table?
month
Here's a
table
review of the
button
table,
expanded.
but it's
Collapsed.
not there on page
Mercedes
load
Forest
because
Chica
of
has left the
cognitive
meeting
load,
alert.
right? So that's a way that you can do that. High charts are, yeah, I think it's high charts does this by default as well. So you can, it's got a little menu, a little hamburger menu, and you can export and you can
Sudhave Diola has left the meeting
you can also
alert.
see the data in a table view. So yes.
Sorry, going back just a second on the last comment. If you have a table and a chart or a graph, where would you note that the information is repeated? Would you put
Connor
it in a
Hardigan
caption
has
or the
left the
alt text
meeting
of the
alert.
adjacent table
From Ashley
as the same
Albee to
data set?
everyone.
Or where, I'm just
Hello.
curious where you would put that information.
Can you please turn off the screen reader?
I mean,
We can hear it on the
probably,
Zoom
I
call.
would say probably in the
Alert.
caption of the
Jake Costa has
graph.
left the meeting alert.
And then and they would probably have the same title. Yeah, and maybe, I don't know.
From MMC
Again, this
Lardy
is
to
not my
everyone.
forte
I'm not
as
sure
far as,
they're
like, I don't
checking
do
the
this every
chat
day,
loudly
but just
crying
know
face
that-
alert.
I don't
From
think your
John
question is
Hutton to
wrong.
everyone. A table
sorry, I'm
alternative is
ignorant. I
perfectly
don't know
acceptable and
how
even
you would do
recommended
that.
for
Other people
complex
are- other
charts
people-
alert.
She does.
From Elizabeth Thomas
because
to everyone.
because our software
You're
doesn't
not. I direct
doesn't do
message
it that way.
them
So
alert.
you would never want to put the data table and our software. Actually, you can put a data. Sorry, I'm bragging on our software. If you put a data table on the HTML page and you wrap it in our paracharts element, it instantly turns it into an accessible chart. So if anybody wants to be a design partner, hit me up.
Yeah.
I think this
I
mostly
want a
comes up
commission.
in documents more than it does, in web pages, just because of the fact that web pages can have interactive charts, whereas documents, they're not. A lot of the federal agencies will do this where you do have, like you were saying, Chad, where it's like you'll have the table name and the chart name be the same. And then somewhere, usually there's an introductory paragraph that's talking about whatever's coming in, and it'll say this, and then as you'll see in the chart and table below or whatever, and it just does
C
that.
figure, maybe.
Yeah, I mean,
Figure
it's just-
one.
and
like
then
that.
each one has captions, right? There's a table caption and there's a chart caption
Yeah.
that has that.
Yep. Okay, so we got another, yeah, sorry.
So it would only work for really simple charts like this, but I was wondering if, it's like we were talking about with PDFs and when you have to put the alt text, would it be accessible and W3 approved if instead of saying like this is a blue chart, blah, 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 if it instead was like, in January, they sold 30 cookies in literally just listing the data as like sentences. Does that solve the problem or is it not because it's still not explaining the graph itself?
Yeah, I'm gonna let Doug chime in before I do.
Yeah, it is, that is technically technically accessible. But man,
Yeah,
like
that's
if
what
you
I'm
put
saying.
that in
Join
alt
the meeting
text,
alert.
there's no, like, the cognitive load involved in that is just enormous.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, and the chart description in the code here is very much like that, to kind of cover that. So did you have
Natalia
another comment?
sent a file monthly digital revenue forecast review alert Microsoft
Me
Teams.
writing this, it would literally say January 30, February 80,
It does,
this,
yeah.
this, that, and done.
Right.
So that
Monthly cookie sale.
well, because the
Menu
cookies should not
submenu.
be in the image,
Live
the cookies
examples.
should be a
Alert
different
dev
tag.
tools.
It
Elements
should
panel.
be
Proper
either,
creator.
well, I mean, it could be a caption tag for the figure, it could be a P tag right above it, could be a heading depending on how it's set up. So depending on how your document
Level
is set
5
up,
less
the
desk
name of
ID
the chart
600.
should be out of it. And then you'll just have the chart like he's
Exit
showing
NVD.
there.
So
And
because
so
it's like in the title that says cookies.
yeah, and I mean, you could say January 30 cookies, this, that, but anytime it starts getting redundant and I have to say the same word 10 times, I stop saying it.
Yeah. Yeah, you can see the code that's in the chart description. So, yeah. Okay, so homework. Oh, sorry.
One quick question about like maybe best practices, although it may not be required, but I think charts are very helpful in a way where we can immediately visualize trends, although tables help us access the data that we all need. And that's like one benefit to the visual like layouts.
Yes.
But I was curious if there's like best practices on alt text for the screen reader experience to kind of give those insights to screen reader users, although they can technically access the data in the table below.
I'll give you my take is you want to put the most important information first because they are listening to it at Mach 5, so you give them the most important data up front, and then they decide to listen or not. I don't know. Any other practitioners? Yeah.
It's just a second, she's taking, bring the mic around.
Yeah. Yeah. We want to make sure we hear it. Everybody gets to hear it.
Yeah, pick like 2 or 3 key pieces of information, put it up front. Like cookie sales peaked in November because people like cookies with turkey or something.
Right.
And use the table for the rest. If users want to dig into the details, then you have the table. Just mark it up as table if you can. Let users explore. And this is also why I will name any names, but I've been looking at certain interactive charts from a famous provider that does a lot of beeping. You can actually arrow through things and hear high or low beeps, and that's really good for quickly identifying trends. So adding that is kind of cool.
Awesome. That's great. Okay, the homework is this. And I was going to try to do it interactively. Murphy's Law 1. Go to this site, go to this graph2 accessible.html page, open it with NVDA and Google Chrome. Try to listen to it. Then go with Firefox and NVDA and try it again. then go to the other accessible one and do the same. You're going to find, and if you look at the code, and I mean, I'm as nerdy and code person as it gets, it's not very different. But this version, you can hear it on Firefox, but you cannot hear it on Google. The other version, which is very similar code, you can hear it on both. So be careful, my friends. Be careful. Make sure that you, almost like designers, cross-browser, all that stuff, it actually does come into play. Now, would you be in a defensible position if somebody said, well, I can't hear it and I'm bringing, a lawsuit, but I checked it in Firefox and it works. Yeah, you'd probably be in a better position because you could say, oh, we tried really hard to do that and we're going to fix it immediately. That's the great, that'd be the great way to do that. But yeah.
Can you say how you're testing all this with the browsers and the different screen readers?
Sure. So my team, the default combination is Google Chrome with NVDA, and then we check on a mobile browser with iOS and VoiceOver. That's our default. That's it.
What about Mac OS and VoiceOver now?
We don't test it. We find the most things there, and everything else is errata. Now, does that mean you should follow that? I'm not saying that, right? When you're talking to an accessibility company, they're trying to find the most they can for you for the cheapest amount, most affordable amount, right? So that you're not spending hundreds of thousands of dollars, you may be only spending tens of thousands of dollars. Because we could test every single page on your website, but I don't think you want to pay us that much. I really don't. So you have to where do you draw the line? That's where we draw the line. Now, we also have screen reader users that test with JAWS and Google Chrome, and we do that in a slightly different way, the manual testing process. We basically have everybody test the Google Chrome and NVDA combination, and then we have certain things tested with Chrome and JAWS to cover that errata that might be there. And it's usually, just so you know, it's usually in the mobile menu, the mobile experience of it all. So that's usually where they get it wrong. Okay, so we can go back to slides, but basically we're completed with our presentation part. But if you have questions, we'd love to hear your questions. I'll put the slide deck back up. Any questions? Do we have anything online?
Check. Yes, some comments here in the chat. Somebody said a table alternative is perfectly acceptable and even recommended for complex charts.
Say that one more time, sorry.
Yes, a table alternative is perfectly acceptable and even recommended for complex charts, somebody said.
I had a question.
Yeah.
I'm a novice screen reader tester.
Right.
And I just was in a session earlier today where I was having trouble with NVDA and Chrome, not using the H for headings. It just says H, H, H. So obviously there's ways around that. Do you have any pointers to point me to where to go? Maybe are there other keyboard commands that you use if you're in the Chrome browser for NVDA?
No, we use NVDA's,
Yeah.
hotkeys for it. Yeah. But there's a ton more than what you saw today.
For sure.
Yeah. So, I think if I remember right, you can use
Chat.
1, 2, go ahead.
The elements list.
Right.
Where you can, bring up.
Carrot browsing. Do I want to turn on carrot browsing?
Yes, please. That'll fix it.
That'll fix it?
Yes. 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 Yes.
Okay. Thanks.
Yeah.
Super novel.
Right. Yeah. I don't do it every day anymore, so I'm trying to remember. Right. Do you have any other questions? Well, thank you all so much for coming.
Thanks, everybody.
Appreciate it.
Thank you so much.